room, and nobody knew. Like nobody knew I was getting high ever. I was very closeted about it. I would smoke crack at work. People wouldn't even know. I would
Wow.
drive around the city smoking it, and people wouldn't even know. I was high almost all the time. Nobody knew. And that was the scariest thing about it, is that nobody was stopping me to offer me help. Nobody knew how deep I was into this because I hid it so well. I could get really high and act completely normal and nobody would know.
Welcome to Winning the Divine Lottery. I'm your host, Amy Dawes. I am so excited to have you here today, Mike. Mike Waller's in the house, everybody. I've known Mike. How long have I known you for? Oh, we didn't have that discussion before I pressed record. It's been a while.
Probably, yeah, 5, 6 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have just been a shining beacon of light. I've seen you transform in so many ways, and you've also contributed and added so much value to my life. You've helped me out whenever I needed help, and you're just that guy. You really are. You're so passionate about your story and who you're being and how you're helping people. So enough said, I would love for you to just open up with whatever you feel called to sharing right now and what's in your heart.
Um, yeah, so well, thank you for allowing me to be on here today. I'm very excited to be on here. This is my first podcast interview, so getting my feet wet and hopefully more to come. But I guess I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Mike Waller. I run a business called Mike Waller Hypnosis, so I'm a hypnotherapist. A little background to my story is how I got into hypnotherapy or got into life coaching, I guess, to begin was my first modality. I kind of went through my own trials and tribulations in my own life. I fell into deep into addictions, and pretty much my entire life I was somewhat doing some sort of drug of some choice at one point in my life. And at one point I got really bad into cocaine and alcohol and really any kind of drug that I could get, I would take. But cocaine was the one that kind of took me down the rabbit hole that I didn't really want to go down. But I mean, everything happens for a reason, and I don't regret anything that happened in my past. And I think it really helped me develop who I am right now. But I went through my own rock bottom. Um, my parents had passed away. I inherited their home, and I didn't really know. I was pretty young when they had passed away, so I didn't really know how to deal with that. Felt like orphaned kind of thing, right? And so I just fell back into the things that I knew how to just cope with my emotions, and that was just drinking and drugs and partying and things like that. And I never really knew how to deal with my own stuff. So I would outlash on everybody. I was the most angry person. I was egotistical. I mean, you couldn't tell me anything. I would argue with you even if I was wrong, I would argue with you until I was blue in the face, right? And when I had hit my rock bottom, it was a huge eye opener for me. I was in a really bad relationship. We were both deep into addiction. I ended up losing the home that I inherited from my parents, which that in its own took a few years to forgive myself for. There was a lot of guilt and a lot of resentment held in that as well. But I mean, once I lost my home and we had to move, I was starting to realize that things weren't really working in my life very well. You know, it was my biggest fear to lose my home, and it's gone. And I had kids that were relying on me. I had a family to support, and I wasn't even supporting myself. And so I had to make a call, and I decided at that point that I was going to leave my ex, and I just packed whatever we could up into the car. We moved to Regina Beach. We rented a mobile home in Regina Beach for about a year, completely isolated myself. We started out from scratch. We started out with, sleeping on an air mattress, and I was sleeping on a couch. My daughter was sleeping on an air mattress. We'd be eating cereal out of styrofoam cups. I mean, until we started to get things back together. So it was a rude awakening, but it was an eye opener for me. It was very humbling. At one point, I thought it was better than everybody. No, I just walked around with this attitude like nobody was above me. And it made me quickly realize that I'm no better than anybody else. This can happen to anybody. And it's my job to get myself out of this. I lost almost every relationship I had in my life that was valuable to me. I had a lot of friends that had turned their backs on me. Even my family stopped trying to help me out. And I mean, at, then I blamed them. I was very in victim mode. I was blaming everybody. Well, this person won't help me, and it's this person's fault that this happened. And it was sitting in my own wallow for a little while that I finally realized that nobody's going to come and save me out of this. And I have kids that are relying on me, and there's things that I need to do to be able to support them, or I'm going to lose them. And I made the call then that I'm just going to start working on myself. So I decided I'm going to get clean from drugs and alcohol, like completely clean from drugs and alcohol. I started going back to the gym, I started eating really healthy. And I just started with, self-motivating videos off of YouTube, and I would just play them all day long, doing whatever I was doing in the background. And I figured that it would just, brainwash me into thinking differently. And it definitely started to, because I started to read more. I started to learn more. I started to learn about, how I can shift my emotions and how I can work through them instead of trying to always avoid them and run from them. And it wasn't shortly after that Joe Alvarez, I'm sure he was on your podcast at one time, but
Mhm.
so Joe had moved to Montreal. He was in Montreal for about 18 years, and he had become a neuro-linguistic programming trainer and coach. And so he had recently moved back to Regina, and we kind of reconnected. He asked if I wanted to maybe go for coffee with him. I said, yeah, for sure. So went for coffee with him, and he's like, I notice on your Facebook all these motivating posts and all this stuff that you're doing. He goes, it's very interesting. Can I tell you what I do? So he told me what he was doing with the neuro-linguistic programming and stuff. And I automatically thought, this is really something that I need. I need to figure out something. I feel really stuck. I don't know in which direction to move. So he had offered, if I he offered me to join his class so that he could train me to be a practitioner. And I was like, that sounds like a good idea. What's it cost? So then he tells me this cost, and automatically, like I was already coming out of rock bottom. I was scraping for every little rock or stone that I could freaking find at that point. Like money was the most limiting belief I ever had in my life. I never believed I could have enough to even support myself at that point. So I kind of, turned him down at that point just because I didn't believe in myself. And honestly, I really wasn't ready at that point, I don't think, fully to commit. But over, a couple years, I think it was, yeah, literally a couple years later, I was going for a run with my friend Diane, and she said to me, she's like, your friend Joe, he runs that NLP training course. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. She goes, do you think you could maybe put me in touch with him? So I'm interested in learning about his course. And I'm like, yeah, for sure I could. So ended up getting a hold of Joe, and we arranged a coffee. And we all went for coffee that day, and Joe's giving her his pitch on what he offers and how his program works, and all the benefits to it and how rapid the changes are and all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there absorbing it. At that time, I was very deep into Joe Dispenza and neuro programming and all this type of stuff, right? So this is right up my alley. And I'm like, he didn't even ask if I was interested. I just looked at him straight. I was like, I'm in. He's like, what? He's like, I'm in. And Diane's like, I'm in as well. So, and then that was the point. I just committed. I didn't have a dime to even commit to this thing, but I just made the decision. And the minute that I made that decision, things started falling into place and in alignment for me to manifest the money for me to join this course. And it didn't take very long at all. And it really did I think it was at that point really shifted my belief around money. Like, it does come when you most need it. It'll be there. It's energetic flow. It's always there. It's always reciprocating, and you can manifest it anytime. You just have to really have that desire, that want, and the belief that you deserve it, right? And it came to me. So I took the first course. His second master's course was an extra $3,000. So I'm like, hey, if I did this one, let's do this next one. So same difference, manifested that money as well. Ended up taking that course, got my master's practitioner in that as well. Um, so after that, of course, I wanted to use what I had. I wanted to use what I had because I knew how much it helped me and how quickly it helped me. And I wanted to use what I had to help other people. So they didn't have to go through years and years and years and years of trying to figure it out like I had to, right? And I didn't have really anybody. I didn't go to AA, I didn't go to NA, I didn't do any of this stuff. I just made the decision on my own to do it. It was very hard, but I know that if I could do it that way, that anybody can do it. And if I had the right tools, I could help people, achieve their goals in their life as well. So I started doing life coaching with neuro-linguistic programming. That was going really well. And I started to get into the hypnosis part of it. Joe offered a hypnotherapy, an extra course on the side of his NLP course that was hypnotherapy, but he wasn't putting on any courses at that time. So I just kind of started looking on YouTube and watching videos and just kind of learning how to hypnotize somebody. I knew how to hypnotize somebody. I didn't have a clue what to do afterwards. So then I figured, I got to start really investing into this. This is something that I think would benefit a lot of people because, I mean, not only is neuro-linguistic programming a rapid change results modality, but hypnosis is even more rapid. So combining the two, the results are just phenomenal. So I started really diving into hypnosis and taking every possible course I can. Every single day, I submerge myself into this. You can never learn it all. So it is a continuous practice of just trying to, grasp it all. And it's so fun to be able to use this with other people to watch the changes in their life, and then it's even more fun just to keep absorbing this knowledge and keep learning. And it's just, I can't wait. Every time I learn something, I can't wait to share it with somebody else, right? So it's like I learned this, all right, let's get a client. I got to use this on somebody, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of how I got rolling with it all. And the last 3 years I've been really focusing on the hypnotherapy part of it. Over the last year, it's been really taking off, and I can't wait to see where it takes me in the next few years. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Amazing. I wanted to acknowledge some of your story because I know a lot of people can relate to, well, first of all, loss, losing both of your parents. I mean, that's a huge loss for children.
yeah.
And then the addiction side of it, I mean, so many people go through a similar journey. And just the acknowledgement that sometimes that's what it takes. Like it takes us hitting rock bottom to want to change. And to acknowledge you eating cereal out of styrofoam cups to where you are now, I think gives people hope and it gives
Yeah.
people possibility. And if you can do it, so can they. What would you say to somebody? I just want to, from that place, and then I'll connect back to the hypnotherapy. But what would you say to somebody who possibly is listening right now and they're still in the addiction, but they know they want to change. They know they want a way out. What would you say to somebody in that condition?
I would say, really get clear on yourself on really what it is that you do want in life, because unless we have a purpose to move towards something, it's very hard to get out of our stuck positions that we're in.
Mhm.
So your purpose to be clean and to be sober has to be bigger than the purpose to get high, right?
Yeah,
And make the choice. Like you have to make the choice, and when you make the choice, stick with it. You're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs. You might have your setbacks, but always keep that forward vision and keep moving forward because you'll get there.
yeah,
You really will. You just have to, your want has to be bigger than your desire to get high.
Yeah. And
And that's
what
really,
is the desire to get high? What was that for you? I mean, everybody could experience something different, but I would love to know what that was for you. Do you know?
uh, well, I mean, the first time I ever did cocaine, it was the rush. I
Hmm.
mean, it was the high, the instant euphoria, the instant not caring about anything.
Yeah.
And that was it, right? And after that, you're always just kind of looking for that first feeling. And
Hmm.
it never really comes back, right? Like even, even if you're clean for a week, you don't do it for a week and you go do it again. It's not like the first time. But you always have that in your mind, like it's going to be like the first time. I really want this euphoria. And even when you're doing it, I mean, even when you get high, you start in your day, you get high the first time in your day. Well, that's the best time. And then every other time, it's like nothing. You're just kind of just evening yourself out, and it's pointless, but you're just chasing this. And it pulls you towards it. It's not something that you can just be like, oh no, I'm good today. It really definitely it pulls you. It twists your mind, and
Hmm.
it lies to you. It
Yeah.
lies to you, wholeheartedly lies to you. It gives you false hope and thinking that you're going to be somebody better with it, and you're not, right? But you want to be, right? And you don't know how to work through your things. You don't know how to be better than what you are, so you hide from it.
Hmm.
And you use that because it's a mask. And that's really all it is, right? It's a
Yeah.
mask to hide from reality.
Yeah, I love that. You reminded me a little bit of what Gabor Mate says about addictions and trauma, that the actual act of like wanting to feel euphoria is not like bad or wrong. It's the human condition that we want to move away from pain and towards something
Yeah.
better. It's just the means and what we're doing to receive that. Do you feel like since you moved through that, Mike, that you can create those emotions, those good, positive emotions for yourself automatically? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it comes from a place of self-love,
Yeah.
right? And it really does. Like you have to really learn that you are valuable and you are worthy. There's people that rely on you. There's people that love you, and there's people that really care about your well-being, and you're more worthy than you give yourself credit for,
Hmm.
right?
What was the
And
moment that you realized that for yourself? Was there a specific moment, or was it like gradual over time that you realized that you were
um,
worthy?
well, I mean, the thing that really helped made me get clean, and I don't really share it with a lot of people, but I was getting high in my room. I was smoking crack in my room, and my daughter was living with me. She was in the other room, and nobody knew. Like nobody knew I was getting high ever. I was very closeted about it. I would smoke crack at work. People wouldn't even know. I would
Wow.
drive around the city smoking it, and people wouldn't even know. I was high almost all the time. Nobody knew. And that was the scariest thing about it, is that nobody was stopping me to offer me help. Nobody knew how deep I was into this because I hid it so well. I could get really high and act completely normal and nobody would know.
Mm.
And the one night I was, sitting in my room getting high, my kids in the other room watching a movie, and all of a sudden I woke up on my bed and I'm holding this crack pipe. And I don't know what the hell happened. At one minute I was conscious, and the next minute I'm waking up on my bed. I don't know if I died. I don't know. I don't know what happened back then. I don't have no recollection of anything. Just everything went blank, and then all of a sudden I just woke up.
Wow.
And then that was a rude awakening for me. It was really close to home at that point. It was really real. Like this can take me. And the last thing I ever want is my kid to walk into that room and find their dad dead from a drug overdose.
Wow.
And it wasn't really my life I was putting into perspective at that point, because at that point didn't even really care about my life that much. And getting on a rock bottom, it was really hard to love myself after screwing everything up,
Yeah.
right? It was really hard to forgive myself for losing my home, for moving my kids out of there, living in a basement suite and like all this stuff, right? And so it was the perspective of my kids. It was their perspective of, I don't want them to go through what they would have to go through losing a parent to addiction. What would their friends say? Would they get teased at school?
Hmm.
What are all the things that I could teach my kid that nobody else can, and I wouldn't be around to do that? They literally rely on you. I mean, we are their superheroes, and no matter what we do, they look up to us like we are.
Yeah.
Right? They're like puppies. You can give your dog crap and that thing's gonna love you 5 seconds later, like unconditionally. And that's just like kids. They look up to you. You are their superhero. And the last thing I want to do is leave the memory in my kid of their dad being that weak
Mm.
and then having to come to terms to that.
Yeah.
So right then I just made the choice. I was, that was enough for me. That was enough to scare the hell out of me, and that was it. Right? That had never happened before, and that was it. And then so once I made that decision and that was done, I had to replace it with something because
Hmm.
that's all I knew at that time was just addiction. If I was going to be addicted to something, it had to be something positive then.
Yeah.
So then I just started going to the gym and I just got addicted with going to the gym. And then it was just addicted to being, eating healthy and just things like that, right? But the more I started to do that, the more I really started to love myself because I started to care for myself. I
Hmm.
started to do the loving things for myself that we need to do. I was treating my mind right. I was treating my body right, and I was treating my family and my relationships right. So, I started to shift my perspective of myself. Like, I am worthy of good relationships, and I am a good person, and I do deserve forgiveness, whether people want to forgive me or not.
Yeah.
Right? So, I just took what I could get. Right? The right people stayed in my life, and I look at it, the people that weren't meant to stay are gone,
Mm.
and that's fine. Right? We're all entitled to our own journey. I have no hurt feelings over anybody, right? But I appreciate more than anything the people that stuck around to help me through my journey because I mean, now they can reap the rewards of it when
Right?
they really can, right? So
Yeah. That's
and
such a
you know,
huge
and I
lesson.
I've never ever forgot after that how valuable my friends are. I used to always be the guy razzing your friends, saying the smart ass stuff, and I don't, I choose not to do that any longer, right? I don't, it's funny to a certain extent, but it's not funny all the time. I think we need to be loving to our friends and more caring to our friends and, be supportive of them, not making fun of them for doing things just because we think it's funny,
Hmm.
right? Like being supportive of them and being loving to them. And then they feed off of my energy now, right? I mean, so many of my friends, as I'm telling them the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm learning, the things that I'm experimenting with. My one buddy Jason, he's all over it. He's like, "Oh, you're doing that? Oh, I should try that." And then he does it as well, right? So it's just a ripple effect. If we become better, we're just this ripple effect, and we're creating tidal waves throughout the world with our
Yeah.
change, right? Yeah.
I love that you shared that story. I wanted to say I had chills when you were sharing that because I mean, I can relate. I went through that with my ex. I had no idea what he was doing. No idea. Like, and even when it came out, I was shocked. I was stunned. In one essence, it made sense because I understood why there were certain things happening, but I had no clue. So I find that so valuable that you shared that. And also the lesson in the people that stay with you throughout your struggles get to reap the rewards of who you become after. I think that's such a beautiful gift that we can give one another. And that also takes courage and real heart to be able to be with somebody through their struggles and to see their potential and their possibility. And then the reward they get is who you've become, and now they're being inspired by you. I just love that about you, Mike, so much.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, honestly, Amy, you had a lot to do with my shifting as well. I mean, all those cacao ceremonies and the meditation ceremonies and stuff. I mean, that really started to put a lot into alignment with me as well, right? And that really started to open up, my mind and my heart and my soul to other opportunities and all
Mm.
that type of stuff, really learning what my limitations are and what I really need to work through, right? Where
Yeah.
my fears really lie, right? I mean,
I
stuff
appreciate
like
you saying
that.
that. I think we're
Yeah.
all here genuinely to walk each other home, and there's a reason why people come into our lives, and it's always evolving and growing, right? Like, I never thought I would have a podcast to be able to have you on the podcast. And I know when we get together, like, I just love your energy. I love your passion. It's so sincere and genuine that you know what has helped you. All you want to do is be generous and share it with others. And I think that's when we have real purpose and a mission, right? To change is when we know that something has helped us. It's not like we're forcing it on other people, but when we genuinely share that with other people, we just open up this whole like portal of possibility for transformation for others. And I know that's who you're being. So, can we dive into hypnotherapy a little bit more? A little bit more
Sure.
specifics because you're just like a master at this. I think your t-shirt even says that, doesn't it? Or your
Yeah.
banner said that master
My banner, my
hypnotherapist.
banner says it. Yeah. Master hypnotherapist. You bet.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody? Oh, let's pick a scenario. Do you want to talk about quitting smoking? Because like that's something
Sure.
that a lot of people can relate to, although
Yeah.
less and less people are smoking.
You're
Would you
right. Yeah. More,
agree?
less and less people are smoking. I mean, more people are vaping these
That's
days.
true.
So I think honestly, this business is probably going to more turn around to the vaping aspect in the near future. But the way I look at it, it's all a habit, it's all the same. It doesn't really matter what we're doing. It's a bad habit. It's a
Yeah.
value trap that we kind of fall into that there's a value in it that we see, even though it's detrimental to our life, right? There's
What's
a
the
value in
value?
relaxing. Well, there's
Can
a
we get?
value in relaxing. There's a value in being stress-free. There's a value in fitting in, right? There's a value in looking cool with your friends,
Mhm.
right? There's all that stuff where we look at this value. It's like, yes, I want that, and I'll do whatever I can to get that, even though it's detrimental to my life.
Can I just
And it
say, I
really is.
love how you coin it as a value because a lot of people wouldn't see it that way. So that
Mm,
perspective shift is really, really huge to ask yourself, like, what value is this bringing me?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. And, I was reading this book. It's called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And it's an old book. It was written in the 70s. It's kind of a hippie book, but it's about a father-son cross-America motorcycle trip. And in this book, it doesn't really have, they talk about motorcycles and stuff like that, but really what the book is about is he talks about quality in life and really what it means. And he gets into really talking about values, like people's values in life. And then he gets into talking about these value traps, things that we find value in that aren't very good for us. And he related a value trap to an old South Indian monkey trap. And it's a brilliant but cruel trap, but it's a monkey trap that they make in South India. And really what it is, it's a coconut. They take a coconut and they cut a hole in the coconut, they hollow it out. They chain the coconut to a stake and then they stake the coconut into the ground. They fill that coconut with rice. Well, the monkey comes out of the tree. It senses the rice is in there. It knows the rice is in there. So just like us, a monkey has its hand. It can fit its hand inside the coconut. It can grab the rice, but now its hand is too big to come out of the coconut. So the monkey is chained to the ground, stuck to the ground by nothing more than just his own hand.
Mhm.
But the monkey sees a value in this rice. He loves this rice. He's not going to let it go, even though it's going to get him killed. So when I read that, I thought automatically, this is just what it's like for smokers, right? They see that value of, I need to relax. I need to clear my mind. I need to relieve stress. I need to look cool with my friends. They're willing to grab that value, but now they're chained to the ground and it's going to kill them.
Yeah.
But that it's valuable. They're not willing to let it go. In the book, it goes on to say if you were to give that monkey one fact that would set it free, it would just be like, open your hand. And if you could drop down beside the monkey and it could understand you, and you said, that minute amount of pleasure is not worth your life, it's not worth being separated from the people that you love.
Mhm.
Open your hand, and the monkey might be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. And he'd open his hand, he'd free himself, he'd be back up in the trees. living his life, doing the things with the people that he loves or the monkeys that he loves, right? Right? So it's the same thing as smokers, right? They hold on to this value. Well, let's think about relieving stress. How many how many different ways are there really to relieve stress that are
Lots.
better than smoking, right?
So many.
So many, right? And I
Yeah.
mean, probably some that are even cheaper, some that are probably even more accessible, easily accessible. So, things that you can do anywhere at any time.
Mm.
I mean, so, let go of that trap and, get the value somewhere else where you're going to actually benefit your life, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that metaphor and that story. When you were saying that too, I was like, that's part of surrendering too, right? When we come into these habits that we know are no longer serving us or longer serving the person we actually want to be and create the life that we want to have, is there is a part of us that has to like energetically and emotionally and mentally like let go and surrender that to something greater.
Yeah, for sure. And it really starts to just becoming honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to really be honest. Like, are we trying to fool ourselves here? What are you trying to, why are you trying to convince yourself that this is something you need when it's, deep down it's not,
Yeah. Yeah,
right? So,
can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I love how you share this when you're talking to people who really want to quit smoking and you're like, I'm pretty sure the first time you had a cigarette, you didn't go, "Oh, this tastes so good."
well, that's right. Like, I mean, we're very habitual beings.
Yeah.
Right? We take complex patterns of behavior, we do them automatic at the start, or we do them consciously at the start, and then over time they become automatic. And we do it with everything like walking, talking, reading, writing, driving,
Hmm.
everything like that, right? And it's the same thing with smoking. Usually when somebody started smoking, they weren't an adult when they started. It's usually a child, 13, 14. I think the oldest I've ever had somebody that started smoking was 20. Yeah, I've never seen anybody over that age that started smoking over the age of 20.
Wow.
So it's these kids that start smoking. It's not usually not adults that make the decision at 45 years old to pick up a pack of cigarettes and take up this habit now, right? We know this stuff. We're not going to do that. But as a kid, there's a value in looking cool with your friends. You want to be cool. So you put that cigarette in your mouth, right? You light it, and you have to teach yourself how to smoke it. Right? You don't put it in your mouth, take one puff, and be like, yeah, oh yeah, I want to do this the rest of my life. It's the best thing ever. No, like they hack, they cough, they choke, I turned green and threw up when I had my first
Yeah.
cigarette. But for some reason, it was more important for me to look cool with my friends, and I was willing to persevere through the disgusting taste, the coughing, the hacking, so that I could do it with my friends, so I could be cool.
Mm.
But, from that first cigarette, when I had to teach myself how to inhale it, how to blow it out, right? Maybe it's the fifth cigarette, 10 cigarette. I don't know which one it was where I could actually do it without coughing.
Hmm.
But, between those cigarettes, the ones you're looking in the mirror to make sure you're blowing it out, looking cool, right? Blowing O's, like all this
Yeah.
type of stuff, right? Like really teaching yourself how to do it. But between that very first cigarette and that cigarette that somebody takes out of their smoke pack, smokes half of it before they even realize they even did it, between that very first one and that last one, it's almost like we form a part of us that just does it for us.
Mm.
Right? So we don't need to be reminded to have a cigarette 20 times a day for 20 years. I mean, that would be very taxing if I had to remind myself to do that. It's almost like, remind me to do this for me. And we give this job to this part, it takes this job and it does it for us beneath the surface. Now you get up in the morning, click on the coffee, cigarette, hop in your car, cigarette, coffee break, maybe have two, lunch break, have three. On the way home, have another cigarette. Same time, same place, every single day. It doesn't really change. It's an automatic process. This part is just doing this job for you, and it's running optimally. You don't have to do it much consciously at all.
Yeah.
Right? Just like driving. The very first time we drove, it was a very conscious process. It probably took us 20 minutes to even pull out of the driveway. But between that first time and the time when you drive home from work, you pull up in your driveway and you're like, huh, how'd I get here? Thinking about something completely different the whole time, right? It's like we formed a part of us that drives. That way we can talk to our friends, change the radio, sip a coffee, blurt out your favorite song, all the whole time while this part is just making a million little adjustments on the steering wheel, hitting the brake, hitting the gas, signaling, checking the mirrors. You don't have to even think about it. You just got to be there.
Yeah.
So we form these parts of us. And when I work with hypnotherapy, I speak to these parts. They're these unconscious parts of us. It's not the conscious person I'm really interested in. They try to solve this at a conscious level before. It's not working for them.
Hmm.
So in hypnotherapy, I speak to these parts and they communicate. It might be, yeah, and it will. It'll be like an unconscious movement, a finger twitch, eye twitch, a head move, something like that. I mean, the person's in hypnosis, so they're consciously not involved at all. It's the unconscious mind that I'm talking to at that point. And I communicate with these parts because I really believe these parts, they're valuable.
Yeah.
They have great intentions. They're powerful. And a part that could do something for you for 20 years, 25 times a day without fail, is a very powerful part. It's like a loyal employee,
Hmm.
right? And if you were to say, if you had a loyal employee that worked for your company for 20 years, did the job for you flawlessly 25 times a day, and you were to call that employee into your office and be like, sit down. You've been doing this job flawlessly 25 years, 25 times a day, couldn't ask for a better employee. Pack your bags, you're fired. Be like, for what? No reason, just get out. Now you have this employee that has a skill at this job that it can't use anywhere else. No other place will hire him. What's he do? He's probably sitting outside the doors of this building begging for change, waiting for his job back. And it's
Wow.
the same thing with the smoker, right? We try to quit with willpower. We try to fire this part, right? It just waits for its job back. The minute you're at your lowest, the minute something happens in your life, you go on vacation or somebody dies or whatever, it's just waiting there. Have another cigarette. It's only one, right? And you have that cigarette and that part's got its job back again. So
Mm.
if you could imagine the same retrospect, if you had that employee walk into your office and you said to them, sit down, you've been doing this job 25 times a day for 20 years, couldn't ask for a better employee. I got a better job for you. Different area of the company, more value to the company, even more money. Do you want it? And provided it's everything you promised this employee, they probably wouldn't think much about the other job at all. They'd be like, hell yeah. Probably be at that new job for 5 minutes, never give that old job a thought ever again. So that's what I do with these parts of them, that people that smoke, actually any kind of part.
Yeah.
I ask this part what it's been doing for them, right? Because I do believe it does have a positive intention. It's either to provide them with pleasure, to provide them with protection. And these parts are very primitive. They
Hmm.
take these jobs on, they take them seriously, they work anonymously beneath the surface most of the time until they get further instruction. They don't need you to tell them what to do every day. You told them once, they're just going to do it without fail. Right? And it's usually, to provide somebody with protection, to provide them with pleasure. So
Yeah.
we allow that part to communicate to that person so they have some sort of awareness on some sort of level of consciousness what that part's most positive intention has been. Once that person has some sort of an idea, that signal will kind of click off. It's the eyes flicker, the finger twitches. And then I ask that part to go that person's creative part of their mind, the part of their mind that dreams, that creates, that has ideas, that finds solutions. I have that part go to that creative part of their mind, have that part of the mind run, work, and flow. And I have that part come up with new choices, new things it can take on board, old things it could let go of that would provide that person with that same positive intention, but at the same time freeing them from that smoking habit. So
Yeah.
then we have that part do as many searches as it can, finding as many choices as it can. And then I ask that part to take the best one that it finds the most readily and immediately available for that person. It's not that person that needs to decide, it's that part. That
Yeah.
part's taking the job. Let's take the job that it wants, right? And it
Hmm.
will. It'll take a new job. and it'll do that job better, and that need for a cigarette will be gone. But what people don't understand, most people come to see me, they think a hypnotist is going to make them quit smoking. And I don't make anybody do anything. I can't. I wouldn't even try. But even if I could, I would be doing a complete disservice to that person because it would only be a matter of time before that suggestion wore off and the willpower kicked back in. Something happens in their life and they're right back to smoking again.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do in this is I give that part a new job to do. When I do that, the need for a cigarette is gone. And that person has two choices back. The same choices that you have, Amy, the same choices that I have now as a non-smoker, the same choices every other non-smoker has.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that person, when they walk out of the office, if somebody was to offer them a cigarette after that, they would smile and say, "No, thanks, I don't smoke." Because
Yeah,
that's the only thing a non-smoker would say. They wouldn't
exactly.
say no, because it kind of sounds like back off, right? They wouldn't say I'm cutting down or I just quit, because then you get into some long conversation about it.
Yeah.
It's like, no thanks. I don't smoke.
Yeah. It's an
That's all you
identity
would
shift.
say. It really is, right?
Yeah.
And I asked them, if you could go back to that kid at 13 years old and if you had that choice back again, would you make a different choice? Every single person, 100% of every person that ever came to see me has always said, hell yeah, I would have made a different choice. Good, because in a moment you're going to be hypnotized, that need is going to be gone, and you're going to have those choices back. What choice are you going to make now?
Mm. Yeah.
Right? And because you make that choice and because it comes from you, it lasts forever.
Mm.
You know,
I love
10
that.
years down the road, when you have an extra $60,000 in your bank account, you can
Mm-hmm.
take the credit for that. Right? Like,
Yeah.
when you're fitting well to see your grandkids born or to see your kids graduate or see your kids in their 30s, like you can take the credit for that. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to say you went and saw some hypnotist and he made me quit smoking. Like, no, he gave me some empowerment and I made the choice and I take the credit for that now.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is. It's, giving somebody that choice back, giving them their empowerment back because, it's not, I have people say to me, well, I smoke because I do whatever I want and I want the control to do whatever I want. I said, okay, then how come you're letting a cigarette control you? Because it's like, I get it. Maybe you want to have it, but do you really want to have it? You know it's bad for you. You've known for a long time it's killing you. You know for a long time you should quit and you want to quit, but you just can't. So it's really, are you making that choice or is that cigarette making that choice for you?
Mm.
So if you take all that crap out of the equation and you're actually really making that choice now, it's you. You have the empowerment. Now you have full control. There's
Yeah.
nothing that has control over you at all except your own thoughts and your own choices,
Mm. Yeah, you
right?
really do give people their power back. Do you know what I love
For
about
sure.
everything that, and I mean, I could listen to you talk forever about this, but when I'm listening to you, I'm hearing this is why change is so hard when we try to do it consciously, and why it's
Yeah.
so important to understand our subconscious mind or the unconscious, depending on what you want to call it. Like it has to happen at that level. And
Mhm.
also, when you're talking about these parts, how important it is to know that we all have these different parts that became, a part of our identity to protect us. Like I think about the smoking thing because I did smoke at one point. It was a trying to fit in and look cool because being rejected or abandoned was worse, right? So it's
Yep.
usually something like that when we're kids, but that all these parts of us we can accept, like we can love them. We don't have to reject them or make them feel, shameful about them. That your process just really speaks so clearly to change happens at a subconscious, unconscious level, and that's where we need to go. And the only way that can occur is when people choose for themselves. And you suggest it, but you open up what's already within them and you give them their power back. Or
For
you
sure.
show them where their power is.
You just make them see things differently.
Yeah, perspective
And that's
shift.
For sure. And that's it. Like, once your belief is kind of shifted,
Yeah.
like once you believe that you can do it, most
Hmm.
people walk in there thinking they can't do it.
Exactly.
I need some help. Like I can't do this. But I
Hmm.
fully believe that everybody is able to overcome any kind of obstacle, any kind of problem in their life, given the right circumstance or given the right motivation.
Yeah.
We all have that resource in us. You definitely can do it.
Yeah.
And I like to say to people, and it's crazy, the amount of people that come to see me with cancer, needing surgeries when they can't have surgeries done until they quit smoking. You know, that CPOCPD, whatever it is, that breathing thing. I mean, I had a guy that actually came to me about a month ago. He had a big black spot on the inside of his lip,
Mm.
right? People don't realize that, yes, lung cancer kills us, but mouth cancer is more prevalent than lung cancer is. And because it doesn't kill you, because they can cut your jaw off and you live, or take your eye out and you live, or put a hole in your throat and you live, they don't got to post these statistics as much. They got to tell you lung cancer kills you because it kills you. They don't got to tell you this other stuff. And to me, there's worse things than death. I could not imagine living without my jaw or
Yeah.
without an eye. Like, you think your life was not affected by smoking. Wait till that happens to you.
Mm.
Because I guarantee your life will forever be changed after that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, how do you want to, yes, you might live till you're 70 as a smoker, but are you going to be fit and well till you're 70 as a smoker?
Yeah.
And I know when I'm 70, I want to be able to go hike on hikes with my grandkids and do all that type of stuff, right? I
Hmm.
want to be able to rock climb and do whatever I can do at 70 years old. I don't want to be confined to a wheelchair or pushing around an oxygen tank or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
We got to put that into perspective. But the sad thing is that if people went to the doctor yesterday and the doctor said to them, quit smoking or you'll die, the chances of them walking out of there and quitting are very minimal. I've seen it myself.
Hmm.
One of my clients that came to me just had got diagnosed with three forms of cancer.
Mm.
And they told her she needed to have surgery, but they're not going to do the surgery unless she quits smoking. She smoked for 35 years. There's no way she ever thought she could quit smoking.
Mm.
She came and saw me, sat down. We went through the seminar. She never smoked again. She had the surgery 2 weeks later, and she referred six more people to my next seminar.
Amazing.
And where was that, right? I mean, she really believed she couldn't do it. But when I asked somebody, okay, well, if you walked into the doctor's office and they said to you, if you don't quit smoking, the person you love the most in this world will die. And I asked them, would quit, would you not? Most
Hmm.
people are like, yes, 100% I would quit. Would you think about it? Like, would you walk out the office and have one more cigarette, or would you throw them away right away? Like, I wouldn't even think about it. They would be gone. Then you absolutely know you can do it.
Hmm. That's
Like, you
such a
absolutely
power.
know you can do it.
Yeah,
And
that's a,
it's, yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
go
I was
ahead,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say
Yeah.
that's such a powerful, I mean, it's hardcore, but at the same time so powerful because it just shows how we care and love for others more than we care and love for ourselves.
Yeah, we don't really realize how valuable our life is,
Hmm.
how valuable we are.
Yeah.
And I say that same thing. Yeah, that is kind of harsh. It's very unrealistic that the doctor's going to say your kid's going to die unless you quit smoking.
Hmm.
But I like to suggest to that person that person's life really does depend on you quitting smoking.
Hmm.
There's there's only things that you can provide your kids with. They're only going to come to you for these types of things. They're going to need their mother or their father. You're the only one that can teach them what you know, right?
Hmm.
They want you at their graduation. They want you at those big events, not some other buddy that they met after you died. They
Yeah.
want you there. Their life absolutely does depend on that. I couldn't imagine what my life would be like if one of my kids passed away. I like to think that they would feel the same way if I passed away as well. Like I know what it was like when I lost my parents. They never got the chance to see their grandkids grow up. My mom was in high heaven the day that she found out she was having a grandbaby. She got to make it 1 year. And that was it. Now I have to fill the holes and the voids and all the questions. But what was grandma like? Like they never got that opportunity. So I like to tell people, do yourself the kindness. Walk away from it. Enjoy your life with your family and allow them to enjoy you in it. The
Mm.
only way that's going to happen is for you to be here. And
Yeah.
they want you, they don't want to see you in the hospital with a jaw missing and a hole in
Mm.
your throat. They don't want to help you push your oxygen tank around. They want you
Mhm.
fitting well while you're with them,
Yes. Yeah, and
right?
often when we start smoking when we're, teenagers, well, teenagers, we're not often thinking about, what our lives are going to look like when we're 50, 60, 70, 80. So that's such an
Oh,
important question, I think, at different stages in our lives to ask ourselves anyways, because we can reinvent ourselves over and over and over again. And Mike, I just
absolutely.
want to say too that I feel like so many people are going to reach out to you after this episode, which I will be celebrating because, yeah, you're so here meant to help people change, guide them to that inner power and the choice that was always there and they had. And um, do you mind if I ask you a couple closing questions?
For sure. For
Okay.
sure.
If you had to coin the next, I don't know, 4 months, 6 months, year, you make it as long as you want, as the era of blank, what would it be? Mike's era of.
Oh, Mike's era of hypnotizing the world. I want to hypnotize as many damn people as I can.
World hypnosis.
You betcha.
I love it. Yeah, well, you're going to be a global brand. Yeah, you
Yeah.
are a global brand in the making. I love that. When you hear winning the divine lottery, what does that mean to you? What comes up in your heart?
I think winning the divine lottery is just winning. How do I word this? I know what I want to say, I just don't know how to say
Take your
it.
time, take
But
your time.
I think it's just really just winning like an open perspective, an open mind of everything, and just being winning the lottery of, an energetic exchange, winning the lottery of just the universe in general, right? Like it's not monetary, it's not anything, it's just everything in abundance, right? It's just
Mm,
like this spiritual, energetic kind of deal, right?
yeah,
I don't know.
everything in
It's
abundance. That's
for for,
that's
for
beautiful.
well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
hard for me to put some word or some ideas into words sometimes, even though I
yeah,
like to talk. But
yeah. That's okay. I like stumping people on my podcast too sometimes.
yeah.
So thanks for playing along. And last
Yeah,
but
you're
not
welcome.
least, if you had to go back and talk to, I don't know, what's an age that you would like to talk to your younger self? What would you say to him? Like 12, 13 years old around there?
Hmm. Well, I think I would have given that younger version of myself the love that he needed at that time. I think I would have given that younger version of myself the words of encouragement and just the belief. And I would allow that younger version right now to really know what they're going to become, that they made it through everything in life and that they're going to be something great.
Amazing. And do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to share for who's listening today?
Any final words of wisdom? I don't know. That was more of a stump than the divine lottery one.
You
Uh,
have space.
yeah. I think that even if you are considering that you need a little bit something different in your life, I mean, take action. Like, really create a call to action and ask yourself, if a miracle were to happen and you were to wake up the next day and whatever problem you were facing or whatever habit you were into or whatever was completely gone and resolved, what would be the first thing that you would notice about yourself? And then the second question would be, what would be the very smallest, tiniest step that you could take in that day to start to move towards that? And then do it. Just do it.
Amazing. That made me teary-eyed. So potent, so powerful. The white Mike Waller, and I just feel so blessed that you were here with me today, Mike.
I really appreciate it. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend.